This is Lee Boyle. Thanks for listening to Nursery Podcast. Make sure you check out my band's website, thirdclass.net. You can find our vinyl record, Hymns from Some Small Town. You can donate money to the band if you like our music and want us to keep moving along. And you can find the backlog of all Nursery episodes on there. There are now over 70 episodes being in this year, 2016, and we're going strong. So please, check all that stuff out when we have a pick your poison of social media as far as the band goes. Then if you like really kind of absurd comedy, go to bullskit.com. Bullskit Productions is my comedy troupe. And there's a Nursery link on that site too. So, iTunes, Stitcher Radio, and SoundCloud have the most immediate episodes, but I really do urge you to go dig in deep and listen to some other Nursery episodes. I have a lot of really interesting friends and people who come on the show who have kind of spiraled out from this core group I grew up with. Something I allude to a lot on Nursery but don't maybe formally explain is that I'm a poet. I went to school for English and I've been published a number of times. I wanted to read you a few weird poems. This isn't for everybody, obviously, but I thought I might get into some, relatively literary poems. Ones for specifically poetry readers. This one is called The Simple Truth. This has not been published anywhere, and I don't think I've really shown it to anyone. The Simple Truth. Everyone says Charles Bukowski is a genius, but he's only fun because he's an idiot. Womanizing because he's a man, gambling because he can't stop, drinking so he can write about it, vainly discarding Hemingway, getting in fistfights just to feel like he's alive. This kid is nothing more than an argument for the sake of argument, a person for the sake of people, bones and flesh with a pen shoved through the fingers, for the sake of whining rants on paper. Sure, I'm a little upset at him and others for encouraging aimlessness and sloppy voices in my generation, most people reading him for different reasons than I, because they think he has a real point in his pointlessness, another rebel without a cause pushing nothingness in our face like Franz Kafka to show that we just can't mean a thing. But no, Charles is like Anne Sexton, fun to read because of the glimpse into a life, aesthetics and structure coming and going at the whims of poetic voices that conjure up drama on purpose because they don't have enough to write about. Word choices are moot. The narrator declares to be a fool while secretly feeding the reader the irony that they are a genius, but I know better. Charles Bukowski, you were a ditz. That's why I like your poems. So, yeah, I don't know where I was going. I wrote that one a while back, so I don't know. I was trying to just explain what he was, I guess. Here's a little bit more of maybe a more ambiguous yet relatable poem. This is also officially unpublished, but you can go to leeboylethepoet.tumblr.com. You can get a taste of some of my poems. This one's about me and my brother Jack in this old house we lived at as kids. This is called Pine Children. And a lot of these influence music by Third Class. Pine Children. As my brother, do you remember our backyard's teal treehouse, old sandbox on roots? Do you see my blood from rusty swing set cuts? Taste rabbit ears and clovers from the garden? Feel vibrations of splintered bridges as we stomp to the field? Stream trickling woods growing? We saw foxes once in a while. We deemed pine trees forts. Needles were carpets. Twigs were swords. Fallen trunks on the trail were balance beams. So that was called Pine Children, kind of a story of East Palestine, Ohio, and growing up there. Here's a weird one. This isn't published anywhere. This is called Sierra Madre Road. This is about my friends Pepe and Corey. The couch pointed at sitcoms, cats weaving in and out of blinds, sun prodding bashfully, I think, of neighborhoods, beaten paths, the grid. I am a part of... Cars are boats, roads are rivers. I am a captain of the living room. This whole place is a nation lost in similitude. Night is always ducking behind day. I don't know what I think of that one. That's a weird one. I don't know. Feel free to write in and tell me. That one sucks. You should do this with it. Change it up. Make it better. Chlograve@gmail.com. CHLOEGRAVE @gmail.com. My wife and I honeymooned in Hawaii. Here's another. This may be a very unfinished one, but I don't know. Just throw these out. So this is Hawaii, Tantalus Drive. My aunt and uncle live on this road in Hawaii. Tantalus Drive. Bananas sway, packed like huddling cubs for warmth in throngs of Hawaiian wind. Undo your stem and fall, yellow babies. Leafy pits of wild pig jungles await. Birds stutter as you ride the hills. I, watching you kiss the dirty slope with every somersault, see Honolulu light up. A vast land of high-rises and blue water. Clear skies try to yank me up into their gullet tent. Red flowers try to lick my cheeks with slobbering petals. A place still trembling from a white caress, ready to retaliate, to gobble me up violently for even looking at it wrong. I like that one. That's kind of weird. I like that. Sorry if this comes off as like self-indulgent. I don't know. I just want to share these with you. More importantly than them being my poems, I'm hoping they'll reach out to you and do something for you. I mean, that's always the mission, to be clear. It's not so much about me, it's about, it's about getting to you. To put it simply. Let's see. Sorry, give me a second here. I'm going to read one that was published. There's not a big difference in these other than I consider them finished. Not based on the publishing so much as based on I felt they were finished, and that's why I submitted them to poetry journals. This was published right when I graduated with my bachelor's in English from Kent State. Published in a place called Robbinston, Maine, in a small journal called Off the Coast. These guys were nice enough to nominate me for what's called a Pushcart Prize as a poetry short story award. I didn't win the award, but I got the nomination and have since, included that piece of trivia about me in letters that I submitted, cover letters when I submit poetry, to try to say, hey, other people think I'm cool, so you should think I'm cool. Because after all, what else do we have that to base on but other people? This is called Established, ironically enough. My first poem, much similar to a poet called Antler, who was kind of a second-generation beat poet. He did a poem called Factory when he was very young, and it seemed like this wise old poem. But he was young, and that was one of his first big breaks as a book that he published as a long poem. This is not a long poem. This is just called Established. Now that I am smart, now that I am a clever guy who pretends to waltz, uncaring and cozy, toward death, with a suit jacket and a well-tied tie, now that I have a podium to speak from, authority that creases your folded mind, now that I am older, dressing better, more impatient, important, more out loud with sharp opinions, now that people must respect me, now that I demand them to, now that I have gray rivers of hair, maroon pressed collars, shiny black shoes, my own house and wife, my own publications, solely on talent. Not a plethora of titles, degrees, certifications, years of being alive, academic rewards, etc. Now that I have been detached, arrogant, mismatched, introverted, extroverted, in the in-crowd, systematic, submissive, traditional, rebellious, conforming, angry, accepting, ambitious, and have given it all away, won it all back, given it all away. Now that others have defined what's good, what's not. Now that I grew up and still don't understand. Now that I blaze giant torch at the blackboard as little matches sit at desks and flicker. Now that I stand before you and you sit before me. Now that I'm established. And the poem just ends. ... Maybe you can see the difference here. That poem's better than the ones I read you, I think. Not everyone would believe that, but I feel like it's got more purpose, more meaning inside it, or whatever you want to call it. You can't really pinpoint why a poem is good or why poetry even is a thing. I get that. And some of you are listening right now being like, come on, man. Poetry, really? I know. But it's a thing for me, man. It leads to a lot of other things. sometimes it's based in creativity, and a lot of these poems become songs that appear on albums from my band Third Class. Sometimes it even turns into an absurdist thing, and I end up making a skit with my friends in Bull Skit. It lives heavily in academia for me. Like, it's some people kind of spit on the idea of learning to do things like this, expressive art forms, but I wrote poems before I went to college, and I wrote poems after I went to college, and the ones I wrote before I went to college should all be burned. No questions asked. I don't care if you think, oh, I want to see the stuff you wrote when you were younger. It was bad. And I went to college, and somebody taught me how to focus my craft. And I'm not all for, there's the East Coast New York poet thing where it's like, it's a craft, man, I'm building a poem. And there's a West Coast California poet thing where they're like, it just comes out of you, man. It just comes out of you. You can't put anything to that. But listen, man, whatever it was, I honed the craft and let it just come out of me through the craft that I sometimes let loose a little bit. I'm sorry. I'm an idiot. I know. But thanks for listening to me. I want to congratulate my brother Jack Boyle. He recently finished his Master's in Fine Arts at Kent State. He got his BA in English at Worcester, and he does more of a short story type stuff. He did this great, awesome collection of short stories as his final thesis project called Craters of the Moon. It's awesome. I guess you can't really go anywhere to get it, but I'd like to have him on to read parts of it because it's awesome. He had his reading yesterday, which was May 7th, 2016. It was awesome. I couldn't go because I had a show as Third Class, but I wish I could have gone, and I heard he got an awesome compliment from a teacher that we both really admire. So congrats, Jack, if you're listening. Hope to have you on the podcast again, brother. And I don't mean that like brother or anything. He's my brother, so just forget it, What's this? Let me find this here. I'll try this. This is a sappy one about small town in Ohio I was raised in, East Palestine. Happy Mother's Day, Mom. It's May 8th. I gave you an Amazon gift card already. So don't be like, hey, you didn't get me anything and I visited you. But you're an awesome mom. You raised 3 boys after our father passed away in 1993 when I was 9 years old. Jack was 7 years old. Steve was 3 years old. I'm the oldest, obviously. You did a great job. There's this kind of iconic in my mind, of you, Mom, our listener, rocking my brother Steve in the little baby carrier and reading a book to me and Jack at the same time. Very representative of what you had to go through raising 3 boys, essentially by yourself since 1993. This poem's called East Palestine. Thanks for railroad tracks and pizza shops, blurry red lights, blinking gates run down my windshield. I gaze between spaces and screen doors. Employees under yellow lights collect dough on carts. I am happy to live in a poor town whose back roads allow me to walk on them when my car breaks down. Enjoying the view, trying to get reception, to get towed. Thanks to the electric tower in the sea-green field by a border of Pennsylvania. I stand on my car's roof, and my little brother takes pictures of me in the rain. Oh, that's a good one. Huh? What do you think? Let me give you one of those lines again. What is it? Employees under yellow lights collect dough on carts. That's a reference to, some of you guys listening might be East Palestine natives, the pie factory, of course. Early in the morning, you see people getting racks of donuts, pushing them around and stuff, I kind of promised literary poems, didn't I? Edith Wharton, anybody know that author? Let me read this one. This isn't that great, but might be maybe a running commentary on a author of some notable importance. Edith Wharton's character. I live on the curves of a mountain slope far above where you could ever see. I get to watch purpling sunsets from little wooden roofs. Broken stove in the corner, I crouch in splintered cabins, old seas in my thoughts. This place is an island protruding from green valleys. Marshes and villages hold all the people below in a basket with you. Blinding serum is dispensed into all of your eyes so you can't see me. So that was a reaction to Edith Wharton, and I guess I was trying to speak as one of her characters through my own language, if you guys know that author. Let's see here. Literary poems. Literary poems. Let me see what I got here. I got a poem about Kenneth Rexroth somewhere. I don't know where it is. I don't know if it's called that or not. MNHIJKL. How's the alphabet work again? Oh, I can't remember it. Poem about music. Let's switch to music instead of just stuffy literary. I don't know if this one's that good. This one's called Joni Mitchell. All right. I guess backstory, Court and Spark. Joni Mitchell. Drums tick out from the record player. A confessional song of grasping love scampers into the caverns of my ears. Not the greatest line. Complex twang, folk riddled with popular songs. Sensibility unlock the comforts. God, let me start again. Joni Mitchell. Drums tick out from the record player. A confessional song of grasping love scampers into the caverns of my ears. Complex twang, folk riddled with popular song sensibilities unlock the comforts of the dogwoods and the green grass, rippling in the windows. Faded album covers overlap in scattered patterns on the floor. Dust ascends from them. I sink into the couch, immersed in music. Too easy to love, too hard to predict the next chord. My living room already sucked side A dry, and I must already uproot and come off the cushions toward this musty machine, toward side B, toward a continued journey through orange twilights and hopeful romances, sober mornings with windows overlooking contented couples and streets below, longings for sincerity croon from the grooves in circular motions of nervous blunderings which chase themselves across black countryside, flirting loads of words into fitting loads of words into unsuspected pockets of a tune which crashes upon itself in dismay and chaos, but which somehow is organized for a band to play. So that's kind of like my ode to that album, because I'm trying to describe how it's so great. She really just like puts her heart on her sleeve on that album, and it's amazing. And she's instrumentally like completely ingenious in how she writes. She's like Cat Stevens. She doesn't care, man. It's a slave to the lyrics and the way the words fall on the page, and the band will stop and start right where her lyrics fall. She doesn't give a darn. Excuse my language. And if you're not a musician, I'm sorry to geek out on that. The love stuff, man. She writes about love and she does it well. And she doesn't, it's not just like, oh, she's speaking for a certain group, or she's speaking for women. She speaks for everybody about love. That's what's so amazing about her. Okay. In the Dark Kitchen. I think I was trying to have something to do with Maurice Sendak here, but I think it fell flat. But it's an okay poem because it's about this hurricane, the remnant of a hurricane, just came up into Columbia, Ohio. I'll just read the poem. In the Dark Kitchen, a remnant of Florida's hurricane wafted up to Ohio. I sat on the curb by a restaurant and watched the sky turning into abstinence. Mist tickles me like the sea. It feels like a beach is nearby, out of view. I turn to a young girl, one of my co-workers. I ask her if she likes storms. I explain to her how I love dark skies, how they are easy on the eyes. I tell her I feel like I'm in Maryland or California, an ocean-scented wind swooping into her hair as I talk. The intersection in front of us is empty. Tree branches are crackling and dramatically fainting, sprawling in huge collections across all the back roads in this town. The birds are hiding, our power is out. The oven inside is dead in the dark kitchen. That's all right, not bad, right? I don't know. I'm not going to speak for you. If you don't like it, you don't like it. Man, these are weird poems. These are weird. What's this? This is more of a little bit more boldly stated poem. I don't know. Maybe this is just kind of a gripe of a poem. It's a weird one. It's loading. I'm reading these off my Dropbox. Oh man, it's not there. I wanted this one. Oh yeah, there it is. It's called Holidays Are Just Nuisances. Holidays are just Let's rewind, okay, everyone? Let me make a cute rewind sound that's totally not annoying. Okay, start over. Ready? Sorry, I'm making fun of someone being nervous, but I'm just doing the same thing as them. Holidays are just nuisances. Holidays are just nuisances. Barging into my house, vanishing with the loss of a family member, rectified by weak wires and lights, icy traditions, forced to the usual spin again, scouring streets with drunken pedestrians to watch the sky explode, almost maimed by passing cars trying to beat holiday traffic, dozing in a secret nook hidden for kids to find, coins and candy slumped lazily inside plastic shells, wax numbers with wicks waiting to be lit and blown out, making light of the dead, celebrating snakes, rabbits, and blood, trying to cram love into a heart-shaped card, trying to cram candy into the children's mouths, trying to cram food into the butt of more food that sneaks into my room and strangles me with tinsel, wraps toilet paper around my bed, sets off bottle rockets in the closet, then comes out and grabs my shoulders and forces me down on my knees in front of a television and threatens me until I start praying to God and telling him what I'm thankful for while watching the news announce the death of Martin Luther King Jr. over and over again. They visit me abruptly in the midst of a relaxing week, ruining the unplanned bliss. They tussle my hair and give me scrapbooks of photos of myself aging year after year in front of the same tree. They stare at me when I question them and feel violated when I analyze their details. They scoff when I try to feel at home. They come through the walls at me when I try to get away. They deliberately turn my friends against me and bribe me into not smiling during family gatherings. They catch a glimpse of me and are satisfied with the look on my face, holding me in a fist in limbo forever. Okay. Oh, yeah, most of these are not published poems except for that one entitled Established. And I see why. They're not finished. Let me find you one that is published. I'm kind of blanking on. Okay, I'll find it here. Excuse me. This one's published on an online poetry journal called Leveler. They were really cool because they offer this literary commentary on the poem afterwards, and they say cool things and make you seem more professional than you are and give you the benefit of the doubt. They're like, Boyle chose to break the line here because this is a reference to, they're real cool. They give you a lot more credit than you deserve. This is called Chautauqua, Nights on the Beach. If anyone's ever been to Chautauqua, New York, I went there a couple times as a kid. Very fancy area. We'd had no business being there. Chautauqua, Nights on the Beach. 1. Chautauqua's tiny hills, stone steps, branches arch over. A child's chapel keeps meditative exploration sacred in me, my small figure carrying a raft towards a big clock on a beach. I like when night starts in, makes views hard. My parents squint to see me scamper over grass and distance. Always I submit, running back to them. 2. I compare my inflated raft to clouds. Feels like I lift a sky like blankets under little fingers' striped shirt. 3. Bathroom under the looming clock. I drop my new stuffed bear on a toilet by accident. Pull him out, run away. Weird poem. Yeah, that was published in 2010 in something called Leveler Poetry. And then this one is also published 2010, Abby, a thing called Abby that was, I think, in Massachusetts or something. I can't remember. Yeah, it's an interesting poem called Ceiling God. I'll leave you with this one. This is about me and my brother. Ceiling God. And there's a song called A New Kind of Mars that I stole this stuff. Stole this poem and made it into lyrics for a song that we do. Ceiling God. If God lived in the ceiling like I thought when I was young, he was probably spying on me that time when I laid on the neon green floor in my apartment in a small town when I was 21. He must have silently chuckled as my brother and I, mesmerized, gazed up at the ceiling fan, watching it spin, until it looked like it was reversed, like a wheel, or until we felt like we were spinning, like we were watching the fan from above as it sat below, connected to the floor, deeming us the new ceiling gods, the new spies, spying on a motionless, propeller-like creature from our mysterious green perch in a carpeted heaven. I wonder if God played along on another day farther in the past, when I was even younger, when my brother and I did semi-headstands at 3 and 5 years old, straining our legs toward the ceiling tiles as our bent necks angled our heads at the view of the ceiling, which looked like a floor. A new world of tiled ground, and we were the place's odd inhabitants, who never got to touch the dusty planet's land, cursed to remain a hovering species in our sky. Our carpeted ceiling that magnetized our backs to it, our bodies like burrs in faded foliage of a red carpeted sky. I seem to repeat a lot of words in that, which I don't like, but I think the imagery is strong enough that I kind of earn it. Hopefully you enjoyed this little session. It's weird to make an entire podcast just poetry, but I mean, it's just a big part of the life of a lot of the people involved in this podcast who are the core group. And whether they know it or not, it's, poetry kind of has dictated a lot of the interesting things that we've done in our life. So thanks for listening to Nursery. I again urge you to check out thirdclass.net, bullshit.com. We're sponsored by the Orange Avocado. That's raw, vegan, gluten-free desserts. Check them out. They're going to open a store in Youngstown, Ohio area, Canfield. Look at them on Facebook. And we're also sponsored by my friend Jim Martin, does a cool podcast called The Speaking of Music Show on YouTube. You'll find them. They talk about the music of yesterday and today and kind of give a cultural commentary. So thanks again, guys. And look, Mom, we're on a podcast.